And so, hello and welcome to another episode of Loose Canon. This week, we are going to be talking about the Lightfall Showcase that we just had. Has it been 2 weeks since the showcase?
Yeah, yeah.
Man, crazy. The Lightfall Showcase, and we're going to be watching a bunch of it live um, together. And Rhino, I'll share it with you like we've done before. We're gonna watch it live so we can pause and comment because there's a bunch of little things that you might have missed when you were watching it yourself that we might notice, and maybe you can go back and look for it yourself as well.
Yep.
How have things been? It's actually been a while since we did a show because of just life getting in the way.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's been crazy. I've been working a lot lately. This whole
Yeah,
summer has just been crazy. I think, you know, just in terms of real life, the economy has gotten into the point where people are trying to hurry up and spend the money before they, you know, before they're caught by surprise at the end of the year. So, like
yeah.
last year was not like this at all. This year is just something different. It's a whole different animal. I think with the way things are out there right now, people are just snatching up everything they can before prices get crazy or before opportunity disappears. I guess.
Your audio is kind of going up and down a bit. I
Oh,
didn't
weird.
I didn't. It wasn't doing that when we checked it, but it's doing it now.
I bet you it's Discord. Good old Discord.
Hmm.
I
Um.
can I can mess with it.
Yeah. Well, we've got 2 weeks in to Season of the Plunder now because the showcase came out and then Season of the Plunder came out immediately after it. Season of the Plunder so far has been very cool.
Yes, yes, it has. It's been
Um,
very cool. I definitely like that we're getting back to that fun that we had. I mean, Proving Grounds is stale now, but
mm.
I equate this to what it was like when Proving Grounds was brand new. It was a lot of fun like that.
Yeah, Proving Grounds was fun. I did a lot in the first week, and the second week I haven't even like done anything because I've been sick most of the week. I'm still kind of coming off of it. So if I start coughing and it's coughing bad, I'm sorry for anyone having to listen. I'll try to figure out a way to mute myself. I guess I can just hit this right here. That's only if it's up. But yeah, have you gone into King's Fall?
No, no, I haven't done that yet.
King's Fall is really good.
Yeah.
I'm
Did you
really
get
glad they brought
your
it back.
touch of malice?
I did. I
Nice.
so I've run two King's Falls because I only basically play my hunter, and I ran the first week and then I ran one yesterday. I just got lucky with my clan. And
So cool.
I'd seen on Twitter in the maze section after Golgoroth, you basically go through and you go up and you go right and you go left and you go left and then you go right. And then there's like this second to last intersection where you go right and you keep going straight. So it's if you were to work your way back, the second to last hole that's at that intersection where you go right, someone posted that if you jump in that hole, you get good luck for Touch of Malice. And my clan was like, where are you going? And I'm like, well, I saw this thing. And they're like, that's stupid. And, you know, I got Touch of Malice.
That's
So don't
awesome.
forget to jump in the
Did
hole.
anybody else? Did
No,
anybody else get
no one
touches?
else got it. I was the only one.
That's so great.
2 runs, man. 2 runs and I got it.
That's so great. Hey, did you see that somebody figured out how Touch of Malice works with other weapons of sorrow?
Yeah, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
I spoke about that on Twitter actually. My hopes for like the future of Destiny, like what they can do. It's like I would love to see a future where we don't need to see our weapons be elements that we wield. And it's like Weapon of
Yeah.
Sorrow is because everyone thought the Weapon of Sorrow energy type was going to be the new power we got in Lightfall or
Right.
in
We
Witch
were
Queen and then Lightfall.
we were definitely taken by surprise, weren't we?
Yeah. And, everyone's like, "Oh, it's going to be green because
Yeah.
Weapon of Sorrow
Sure.
and etc." And then Thorn's going to get it and Ostio's going to get it and etc. is
Yeah.
going to get it. None of them got it. Strand is coming instead, as we're going to see in the showcase. And it's just like, but at the same time, Touch of Malice gives a buff to Weapons of Sorrow. And it's like, well, then how does anyone know that? Who's to know what a Weapon of Sorrow is? And
Right.
it's like, maybe make a Weapon of Sorrow weapon type, not a subclass, a weapon type. It's exclusive to weapons. And it's like, okay, this exotic buffs Weapons of Sorrow, this exotic armor piece, or this weapon introduces a buff for Weapons of Sorrow, or these enemies are especially weak to Weapons of Sorrow. And then you can do Siva, and you can do like Taken Energy, because I'm assuming we're not going to get a Taken Energy subclass anymore. That's just kind of where my mind is at after seeing Strand, and it's like, so then you have like Malfeasance and Witherhoard, which are
Yep.
like Taken Energy, and it's like there's another one for you, and this can get a little muddy because of how we have the kinetic and energy slot, but the kinetic slot is getting the darkness subclasses, and it's just like, just get rid of it all. Have slot one, slot two, kinetic can go in either. If you want to rock double kinetic for whatever fucking reason you want to rock double kinetic, you can do that. And it's there you go. Double kinetic, double special, your choice, and we free up the slots. That's my hope.
It's crazy the loadouts you can do now.
It is. And that's part of the reason why I think King's Fall is so great right now. Because like in D1, I didn't do a lot of King's Fall, but the amount that I did, I was kind of like, I'm over this. Like it was very inactive. It was very stand here, don't worry about the ads. Other people will worry about the ads. These people stand up there and they do their thing inside their bubbles, and it's just like, it was a lot of like stationary motion except for the one person who does the things. And I think it wasn't even random in D1. It was by choice. You choose to be the runner, and either way, you choose to be the runner. But now it's random, and with your abilities and your weapons and everything, it's just kind of like, yeah, just this is your zone. You just kind of police your zone. You have your ogre, you have your knight, and then if it's you, you run, and if it's not you, you might have to get on your plate. And it's, like, the you just got to know what to do, and you just go out and do it. And it's a really fun raid.
How about that clamber though?
The clamber, I haven't even needed the clamber.
Really?
Yeah, and that now you're getting robot. What is up with your audio?
Oh, I don't know.
You
Something
you
going.
came back, your audio was like stable, and now you're a robot. Like it wasn't going up and down,
I
but
don't
now you're
know.
a robot. But yeah, I haven't even needed clamber, and it is crazy because I used to like lightweight weapon, max mobility that you could get because it used to be in your subclass of what mobility you can get. Remember that? It was like you pick this and it's like it gives you mobility. Mobility wasn't on your armor, and hunters just could not make those jumps, and it was like very
Yeah,
tight. And now it's just like, yeah, I'm jumping just like everyone else used to. So,
yeah, that was my biggest frustration back in the day was not being able to jump.
yeah. I was like, you can make the jump, but you can only jump on this corner here. Everyone else is like jumping anywhere on the ship, and they've got like 4 feet of
The
like
most
gap.
the most frustrating for me as a hunter is when your button press counts as two jumps.
Mm-hmm. You
So when
like,
you go to do the
yeah,
you go to do the jump and it's like deleted the first jump and now you only have two jumps and you're not gonna make it now.
nope. All right. Well, how about we get into the lore card and then we can get into the showcase.
Let's do it. All right. So this week's lore card, it's basically I chose it because seasonality. It's very topical right now, and people just got it because the new season, which we're going to talk about. So it's the Charge of Light, which is a sparrow. And it's pretty cool looking. The aesthetic immediately when you look at it, you can see that it's almost like a cobbled together pirate type of elixir theme. House Light emblem is on the top of it, and then some drifter leather, and then you can see the spikiness and stuff like that. So just off the bat, it's kind of cool looking. And then the flavor text is boldly into the jaws of death. And so at first, when I saw Charge of Light, I was like, this is probably nothing. I just thought, well, this probably doesn't have any meat. But quite the contrary. When you read the flavor text, you immediately know what it's about because it's a poem, a famous poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Um, this poem has been recited like a billion times in history and used as, just, I don't know, just everywhere. But the gist of it is a celebratory poem about the self-sacrifice and heroism of a British cavalry unit and its cavalrymen, suggesting that bravery consists of doing one's duty even when it leads to almost certain death. So that's a synopsis of what the poem's meaning is. And to get into the meat of the poem, it's it was written by Lord Tennyson in response to a famous battle that happened during the Crimean War. It was basically a suicide mission of sorts that they had done. Um, but if we got time, I'd like to read it real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we do.
Okay. Okay. So I'll be quick and I won't put my flair on it or anything. Um, Charge of Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death, rode the 600. Forward the light brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade, was there a many dismayed? No, though the soldier knew, someone had blundered. There's not to make reply, there's not to reason why, there's but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at the shot and shell. Boldly they rode and well, into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. Flashed all their sabres bare, flashed as they tummed in air, sabering the gunners there, charged an army while all the world wondered, plunged into the battery smoke, right through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered. They rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered, stormed with the shot and shell. While horse and hero fell, they that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made. All the world wondered. Honor the charge they made. Honor the light brigade. Noble 600. So, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Yep. So, the rhyming and obviously the flavor text shows up there somewhere in the middle, into
Boldly
the
into the
jaws of
jaws of
death.
death. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's been like a quote that's been used a lot. It's basically saying, that self-sacrifice above all else is most important, and showing duty to one's or allegiance to duty is, ever powerful. This particular cavalry, the order was almost suicidal, and the brigade was decimated in the charge. The charge of the light brigade, it's about the self-sacrifice of those cavalrymen.
Hmm.
Basically suggesting that the bravery consists of doing one's duty even when it leads to almost certain death. So, though they were surrounded by cannons, gunshots, and artillery shells, they rode straight through the valley of death. The unit charged an entire army and broke through the enemy line, and the Russian troops were caught by surprise, and the cavalrymen cut through them with their swords. So, you can imagine this line of cavalrymen and then the Russians on the other side, and there's this standoff, and people are just waiting for someone to do whatever they do. This cavalryman just stormed through, And
Yeah.
so the Russians are like, we haven't been told to do anything yet. And so they make it over there and they just start cutting and slashing with their swords. And then obviously the Russians are like, holy crap, maybe we should start firing back. So they start firing back, and then the cavalrymen start rushing back, to return back to the line. So
Hmm.
this is a very real thing that happened. So when they ran back, the cannons were firing behind them. They took on heavy fire, gunshots and artillery shells, and most of the 600 of these heroes and their horses died as a casualty of that line. Um, but here's where it gets interesting. So the line into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, means to be part of a suicidal mission or suicide mission of sorts. It suggests that the order to charge may have been a mistake, a lapse in judgment, and the soldiers even know this, but even if their commander doesn't. And so none of the cavalrymen object, and instead they respect their place with the military hierarchy and basically say, well, it's not their job to come up with orders, but to execute them, right?
Yeah.
And that's the line that's in the poem where it says, "There's not to make reply, there's not to reason why, there's but to do and die." And so, that's what that basically means. It's
Jeez.
holy crap, this horrible thing happened. The world is watching them, right? So they're watching these cavalrymen just take off because they got these orders from somewhere, but they're just like willing to accept their fate.
Yeah.
And so the jaws of death serve as a symbol for the battlefield itself, and possibly for the horrors of war. And the charge of the Light Brigade was written in the fall of 1854 and published just weeks after that cavalry had charged the Battle of Balaclava in the Crimean War. And
Interesting.
so that, yeah, and so that horror scene, that harrowing scene, just the whole thing was like, it was very impactful because before, military was very, just uniform, you accept your thing, but it's very structured, right?
Yeah.
Historically, until way later, fights were structured. There was regiments, there was lines, there was officers, there was all types of like hierarchy involved, and there was a lot of honor as to how you would go about engaging in a battlefield. And this was kind of like an eye-opening event for everyone. It was like, holy crap, what the
Uh-huh.
heck just happened. And so it just kind of shows you how crazy war can be sometimes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you ready to dive into the showcase?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you. You should be able to see it in Discord there,
Yep.
like we did last time. And then so I do you and you.
To be here with you again.
Last time we got up here, we got a chance to show you Savathun, the Witch Queen,
And anyone
and
watching,
her
disregard
majestic
the
throne world.
text on the
Since
bottom.
then,
I don't know what
it's been a
is with
wild
the,
year for
the
Destiny.
You
subtitles.
return to the original Loot Cave to reclaim the fabled Gallarhorn.
Then, you exorcised an ancient evil from a hive queen. So you could put it inside a grenade launcher.
And now, you've been spending the past few weeks cleansing a derelict Leviathan from its twisted nightmares.
In fact, the last year has been the best year we've ever had in the Destiny community. I hope you can feel it as well. And seeing this kind of reaction from our community, it's both humbling and inspiring.
Because our team here at Bungie, we're not just developers, we're also guardians. We're trying to build what we'd love to play in Destiny, and that's what brought each one of us here. Brought us not only to Bungie, but also brought all of us to this final showdown between light and darkness.
So, without further ado, this is the beginning of the end. This is Lightfall.
It feels like they keep saying it's the beginning of the end.
Hey, what is happening?
So just let me know if you ever need a pause.
When they see this glorious this end. They will come for us. To savor the fruitless struggle. To its last drop. It's who they are. Let them come.
So this is what I was waiting for. Um, I feel like because in last season we kind of had this whole thing about like Callus talking about how he was feeling everyone on his body and his body was the Leviathan, and we see him. They've confirmed this is Callus, I believe, and it's like he's going in to fucking darkness soup here to get
Yeah,
transformed.
he's like bathing in a darkness hot tub.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, when did this happen? Did this happen? Is it like I'm assuming this is a flashback, that this isn't like in time with Lightfall, but when did this moment happen is my question, because
Right.
he's
That's a good
been,
question.
because it was at the end of Season of the Haunted that he was like confirmed to be become a disciple. And so it's like, okay, is this end of Season of the Haunted, or is this before Season of the Haunted? And they were like, yeah, we're gonna destroy your body, and then maybe we'll let you live too. Like, wait, what? Like,
Is that
yeah.
Come and see.
And even the witness is there to see it.
Our shame reveal what they do then. Unshackled from hope. That is who they are. Because only in the end are we free.
I've seen that thing 100 times now, and every time I see it, I still kind of get goosebumps.
Instantly, I had chills. It's all here, it's all happening now. Things are finally coming to a head.
Thematically, we really have been honing in on that kind of bombastic, big set piece approach.
It's gonna be over-the-top action, adrenaline pumping, like the whole time.
This is
And so here we have the witness with like planets circling around, and it looks almost like the travelers in the background, like that's the target. But like right in front here, is that supposed to be Mars?
Yeah, I mean it's red, so you would think.
Yeah, and it's got this like big sweep of like
Yeah, it's almost like a huge
darkness.
claw
Yeah.
scratched across the surface. But the light is vision hue. So what does that even mean? Does that mean that the darkness is there?
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like a lot of this is going to be like really important going forward. So I'm just like trying to point it
Yeah.
out so people have their eyes on it, and then maybe when they play it, I might miss what this was referencing, and someone else can catch it.
Sure.
is really kicking off the conclusion to the Light and Dark saga, where we finally face down this foe that we've been anticipating facing for so long. It's pushing it to 11.
We've been hinting at this malicious force in the darkness that's been our enemy behind a lot of our conflicts. We revealed that enemy, we put a name on it and put a face on it, and that enemy is the Witness. And the Witness is coming with its newly empowered disciple, Callus.
Callus is really crash landing with a new and more powerful army than ever before. They've got new powers.
So the Shadow Legion here, you might notice the color schemes on their like chests here, the red, blue, purple, white, look still with like Callus logos, and it's almost like branching tree.
Yeah.
It's very, very reminiscent to some of the Vow of the Disciple raid set pieces. And a little bit later, we're going to see Tormentors, and they're going to have a similar but different, but a similar color scheme kind of washed on them.
Yeah. So the most noticeable thing are like darkness, pyramid shape type of thingies. The whatever they're called, monoliths that are like strapped to their back.
Oh yeah, and they have
Like the
those.
darkness or the darkness is attached to them, and so they're carrying it around with them.
So these are the 5 units of like Cabal that we see normally. We have the Colossus, the I forgot what the Cleaver guys are, Centurions, Incendiors, and Phalanx, and of course there's Legionnaires. But I mean they can just be, they're the exact same thing as one of these last two guys. They're nothing different. They just don't have a shield or they don't have a flamethrower, and maybe they just got scrapped because it's like what's your purpose? Um, in the grand scheme, like what's your purpose?
Sure.
Because the thing about these, and just like the Cabal that we see in Season of the Haunted, Callus's loyalists, when he finally actually did get, like, they were like with him, and they're like, he's crazy, but we're with him, and it was when it was like, nope, I've confirmed communication with the darkness, and they were like, all right, we're out. So he made new Cabal for Season of the Haunted, and now as a confirmed disciple, as they've said, he's made new Cabal, now tricked out with darkness, strength,
Right.
whatever that will entail.
Right.
They've got new armor, they've got tormentors to join their ranks that are going to be bigger and badder enemies than we've ever faced. Callus is taking that army that he's bringing with him to be the harbinger of the witness's doom.
New armor, new weapons.
This is such a pivotal moment for Destiny. Everyone is coming to have a last stand with Callus and the Witness to really avoid the next collapse, something that we've been trying to avoid ever since Destiny 1.
We see in the trailer that we're headed to Neptune, and on Neptune there's been this hidden city called Neomuna where an alternate version of humanity has been blooming since the collapse.
Neomuna is the capital city of Neptune. It's a giant metropolis that we were completely unaware existed until now. What's interesting and exciting to me about this place is that it's pristine, it's new. It's not like a lot of the places that we've explored previously in Destiny. Exploring that space is very, very cool.
There's so much new stuff to discover in Neomuna and in Neptune. And also I saw some new characters there. I'm really excited to get to know Cloud Striders and their story.
So real quick, obviously we're going to Neptune, and there's been this whole thing about in Destiny. Been this whole thing about the edges of our solar system, right? So what is the furthest part of our solar system? And we've talked about heliopause and what does that mean? Why are the dead orbit so impressed upon things that are beyond our solar system and the great unknown, right?
Yeah.
And so Neptune is the most distant planet in our solar system, and it's out there on the precipice of the heliopause. It's like, there's Pluto, which, is out there. But anyway, Neptune is a very, important part of the solar system as far as distance goes. It's also kind of small, but the gravity on Neptune is most like Earth, which is weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so it's got like really strong winds, and it's like really cold, obviously, because it's so far away. But when you go beyond Neptune, there becomes this huge question mark of what is gravity of our own system. So the heliopause is this unknown space of, outside of our solar system that we still to this day don't have 100% understanding of what's going to happen if you took a ship basically and just started sailing out past, started going into the heliopause. We actually have a satellite that's just now in approaching the heliopause. And as it's going through the heliopause, it's still beeping back to us. Most of the onboard functions on that I'm sorry, not that you know, spacecraft, whatever, have failed, but it's still beeping. And as it's going into the heliopause, what they're noticing is that the transmissions that are coming back to us, those little beeps, the waves are starting to distort and split and become really random. And so what does that mean? It basically means that once you get out into the heliopause, all rules of the universe start to be different, a little bit different.
I
And
think
so,
that's going to be after light and dark. That's going to be like something that we have to accept. We're going to leave our solar system, and all the rules are going to be different.
yeah, so I think as far as like a scientific explanation for like, you know, sci-fi world, what happens when you go out past the heliopause? We know that we're just ever spinning super fast away from each other in the galaxy. Like galaxies are spinning away from other galaxies, yada yada yada. Within the galaxy, we're a solar system, which is, you know, the galaxy is just a mega solar system, basically made up of millions of galaxies, yada yada yada. But within our explorable universe, our explorable habitable zone, the nearest planets, stuff like that, there are these great distances between them, and that is the heliopause. Like that is what's beyond our solar system, and so to just play with that is really neat. And Neptune is like right there on that
Mm-hmm.
edge, and so it's cool because the darkness is, you know, like out past the heliopause, and they were out past the heliopause, and they were stuck until the light, you know, woke them up, and now they're coming back.
Yeah. About these guys here, the Cloud Striders. You notice they
Chad Bros.
have you notice they have these like silver what is it called, augmentations on their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to pre-order the deluxe edition of Lightfall, you would already have access to a weapon that was disabled twice in 2 weeks. So it's going
Yeah.
after Callisto's title.
Such a good weapon, though.
Yeah, and so you look at the lore on that gun, the Quicksilver Storm, and you look at the Ghost lore that I'm pretty sure comes with it, and they both kind of talk about the Ghost talks about their silver, and as such, the Quicksilver Storm is this technology that comes from, is it Neomuna with an
Uh, yeah, I think it's Neomuna.
with an M?
I think so.
Okay. It's technology that comes from Neomuna, and so not only does Quicksilver Storm and the silver come from there, but Exo Strangers, and this is the name of it, Exo Strangers Puka, uh, which is not its name. It's like we have our ghost. She has her Puka, and which
Yeah,
implies there are other Pukas.
yeah.
So
Which
it's
is
really
that's
interesting.
insane. That's insane all around. Just the idea of
Yeah,
that's just right there. That's like throwing a wrench in the machine that is of destiny. Start
yeah.
throwing that out there.
And so there's gonna be a lot coming in late fall. I'm really excited. But let's hear some more about these Cloud Striders.
Well, real quick, just to say, like the whole Quicksilver naming convention.
Mm-hmm.
Quicksilver, the weapon, Quicksilver. What was it? Quicksilver Storm.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously that comes from Neomuna and these people, Cloud Striders. So Storm,
Yeah.
yeah. So they're playing with this idea, and then you have Quicksilver, which I don't know if you know what Quicksilver is, but most people do
Mercury.
kind of have an idea. Yeah, Mercury. So Quicksilver is like this super fluid um, metal, and it's like almost a liquid metal.
Yeah.
It's very toxic to humans. You can't like shit that because if it gets into your skin, it will go into your skin. It can poison you. But quicksilver has often been a term used for metals and elements.
And you can kind of see they have these like beads on their chests here that almost look like beads of mercury.
Mercury, yeah, because that's what happens when you drop mercury onto
Yeah.
the surface. It instantly rolls up into little balls that when you collect them back together, they make a big puddle. And then if you break them back up, they run into a bunch of little And that's because of how the atmosphere and gravity all manipulate the metal in its liquid form. It makes these little spheres everywhere. But if you take quicksilver and you apply it to a surface, it often looks like a liquid metal that can just like float above any surface and almost clad it in this like liquid metallic state, which is what these guys look like. It looks like they're wearing mercury in a form. So neat. And they're like super strong.
Yeah. And they have these like glider things by the looks of it on their back here in this next one.
Cloud Striders can be compared to Guardians. They're both protectors of a civilization that's potentially under threat. But Guardians were chosen. It's their duty to protect humanity. Cloud Striders have chosen to protect their people.
There's like an awesome opportunity for the Guardians to learn from the Cloud Striders and their way of living and their philosophy of life.
So we've got the newness of that city, the newness of the Cloud Striders that we've never been aware of.
And then, of course, you get a glimpse of this green energy. I wonder what that is.
So I really like these art pieces for it. Because it kind of looks like it's trying to say that Strand is almost like it kind of looks like sound waves to me.
Yeah, so before they get into the like definition of strand, if you're looking at the images and you look at like just that picture in particular, if you look at the Titan, it almost looks like a canister is built on the back with a hose that comes into
Yeah.
an implement that would somewhat be reminiscent of almost a flamethrower or machine gun or something being fed, funneled by a canister on the back.
Yeah.
And so like the Titans, historically in Destiny, the Titans have been very much like their super energy has very much been rooted in like tangible things, very real life, manipulatable. I don't know if that's even a word. Things that can be manipulated out of real life.
Uh-huh.
Because I think for the most part, what they're trying to drive home is that Titans are the most grounded of the subclasses, while Warlocks are the most like up in the air, high crazy thoughts, thinking very much in the mind. Titans are very much in the feet. Then Hunters are somewhat the heart of everything, right? So it's like this dynamic of the spectrum of the classes, the subclasses and classes. And so if you look at the Titan's ability and then you compare it to the Warlock and the Hunter, you kind of see like what they're playing with. And
Strand is
so like the Warlock's mind goes out to their hands, so it's all a performance on how they manipulate the space in front of them, which is a very energy thing.
Wait a second. Is that Titan?
That's in the background. That's Zavala.
Yeah, no. I know that's also Zavala.
The world.
Yeah, are they on Titan? Isn't this up here the arcology? With this crap coming off of it? Didn't the arcology have that?
Oh, maybe. So do you think we're going to go to the arcology and get Strand and then take it to Net or whatever?
Well, I mean, if Mars came back for Witch Queen, why couldn't Titan come back for Lightfall?
Oh, that's a good point. And arcology has a lot really unknown stuff to explore there. The
arcology was kind of like the almost most advanced planet we had access to.
Yeah. So real quick, the theory is we go to Neomuna, we learn how to unlock a part of ourselves that we run back to Titan on the arcology and bring out this new subclass by using that new enlightenment that we learned. That's right.
I wonder if Zavala is with us for the first time that we access Strand, and I wonder if he will also access Strand.
That's awesome. Well, the thing that I think is interesting is we learned very much. It's funny because Strand is not the poison subclass that we all thought we were going to get. Okay, And then in Witch Queen, what did we do during the Witch Queen season that was like the closest to Strand? We went into Sabathun's mind,
Hmm.
and we were playing with mindscapes and these psychic energies and these ideas of just manipulating what's around inside of a mind, and then that's what Strand ends up being.
Yeah.
Is a psychic energy unlocked, being brought forward in the world around you, being able to reach in and grab things that aren't there by using your mind. So it's neat that it was there, kind of all
Yeah, because
kind of
it's
guiding
one of
us.
those things where it's like, what comes first, the story or the gameplay? And in this case, if the story came first and it was like, okay, so we're going into Savathun and we're kind of messing with her mind and about her getting her memories back, and Strand is all about this like psychic realm and things like that, it kind of makes sense that they were like, and then we'll have this ability and it'll kind of do things like this, and then it goes to like the gameplay side of it, and they're just like, that's too much. So we'll still do it, but it's too much for Witch Queen.
Yeah,
It'll just become
yeah.
Lightfall. And
And
there's
so
like,
the other part of that is that we're faced up against the Cabal again, but at the epicenter of those things was the Scions, and the
yeah,
Scions are very noticeable from their one eye. This warlock has a permanent eye,
yeah,
but this Strand ability unlocks a third eye, is what they said. So it's almost like getting into that psychic ability, and then so like
I wonder what that is.
the neat thing about the Scion is somebody pointed out how the Tormentor looks almost like a Scion face.
I mean, I
So
don't
I
see
thought that,
it.
yeah, but what I was saying is, how interesting would that be if somehow there was some connection there with that whole, and I'm not saying that they're Scions, but maybe they had something to do with that whole race or a part of that whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, let's.
Strand is the new darkness power that we discovered.
Look at that. Boom.
Something that's unique
Yeah.
about
Oh, that was the one I was looking for. God damn it!
Strand
I'm
is
sorry.
the
I wasn't
new
ready.
darkness power that we discover here.
This one specifically makes me think of like sound specifically, where it almost looks like, I don't know. It's just, it's
Yeah.
almost like I guess what it is, it's like a god commandment where it's like anything they say becomes reality. What show had that? There was a show that had that, where like the final villain, they were just like able to say what things became. It was like you go to like throw something at them and they're like, it's a flock of birds, and it turns into birds and they fly away. They don't give a shit. And that's kind of what Strand feels like, where it's almost like this like psychic sound energy that like rewrites the rules based on your commandment.
Now you're speaking like the killing word.
Like the what?
The killing word in Destiny lore.
Yeah, no, exactly though. I think,
Yeah.
and oh my god. Okay, well let's
Yeah.
maybe we'll get to it, maybe we won't.
Okay.
Something that's unique about Strand, unlike any of these other powers we've ever had before, when you play through Lightfall, you are discovering this power for the first time. No one in the universe ever in the history of Destiny has used Strand before.
This is
So we're gonna get to it. I disagree with that statement. I feel like no one should hold that statement to be 100% fact. I don't think we're gonna get to it just looking at the time, because we spent a lot of time just like breaking down little things.
Yeah,
So maybe
yeah.
we'll do a part 2 of this, and just like finish it off. But so effectively, what we're looking at here with Strand is that it's like this psychic thing, and it's almost like the building block. Like there's like the psychic realm everywhere. Everything is built with Strand, kind of like holding it together, almost is how they phrase it. And it sounds exactly like what Oryx's daughters Irhalak and Nuke do, as the dreadnought is traveling through space, where one sits at the front and they're the unraveler, and one sits at the back and they're the weaver. And so the unraveler basically unravels space in front of them. And then the weaver, and then the dreadnought cuts through it, and then the weaver weaves it back together. And then
So yeah, and I'm sorry, I just so like that's been a reoccurring theme throughout Destiny.
yeah,
And so the cool thing about that is the writers are honing in on this thing where they're using this reoccurring theme to describe all of the paracausal abilities and powers that we and all of our enemies share.
yeah,
And that's this ability to weave and stitch and cut the space around us.
yeah,
Use it. And so the cool thing about Halak and or Anuk is she's unraveling the space around her, and then it's being woven back behind. But what's happening in the middle is they're creating this space for the hive, or for those particular entities in the dreadnought to exist without harm. Right? It's almost like taking the surroundings around you and then like flaying it apart, and then you have to stitch it back together behind you so that you've created this space, this protection space, right?
And so when they were like discovering that, Oryx noticed it, and who was like, "Hey, Crota, you should go see what they're doing." And Crota goes to like check out what they're doing, and what he does is he cuts through space and effectively lets Vex into the dreadnought. But it's like, so Strand has always kind of been here, and no, they weren't like hard air quotes using Strand, but they were utilizing it. They were making.
It's so a way to wrap that up in a tiny bow is Strand is a darkness power.
Yeah.
And what the Hive were using was a darkness power.
Yeah.
So all roads lead to Rome.
Yep.
And so Strand is something particularly Strand is something that hasn't ever been used before, but it is of the same source of power.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy to say, like, no one in the universe of Destiny has ever, the Witness hasn't used its own power.
Yeah. Maybe it's just the specific Strand.
The way that we're using it is probably very new.
Yeah.
I'll give them that.
But it's
no
of
one's
the
around to
darkness,
teach us. We don't have an exo stranger who's like, I've used that before.
Right. And so that's what's cool, is because now it's kind of tapping into this, like, what have we learned?
Yeah.
Now we're able to do this particular, I mean, we're learning things, like, as we go. The Guardians are doing things that done before anyway. And, this could all culminate to the fact that, Guardians are something that we've speculated for years. It has yet to have been confirmed.
Is the Guardian discovering darkness on their own and learning how to shape it and manipulate it and use it against Callus and his forces, and have fun in the new urban environment of Neomuna. You are really going to have to prepare yourself for a wild ride.
We just got a glimpse of our new destination, Neomuna, our new foe, Callus and the Shadow Legion, paired with the Witness, and a very brief glimpse at Strand, but that's just barely scratching the surface of what this release has to offer.
Right, like what we've just seen in that trailer is just the tip of the iceberg, and we've got a whole lot more we're excited to show you coming up.
Is going to change the way that our players
So we're just going to
move,
skip ahead
fight,
here just
and
a little bit.
explore everywhere in Destiny.
Neptune is this fantastic destination. The capital city of Neomuna is a really fun place to explore, and it's this bright neon metropolis. There's a harbor, office buildings, an arcade.
This is a city that we've made, and using Strand to traverse through it and explore it's going to be so exciting.
There's some places that once you whip out that grappling hook, ooh, you're gonna be able to explore.
Grappling hook. He said grappling hook.
So you'll notice here, they're just kind of like tethered to space, and I'll bring it up after they show it because they show it a bunch.
Explore and get to places that you couldn't before.
Look at that up there. I wonder if I can grapple to there. I'm going to be a kid in a candy store.
And you might have noticed there, they all used it once, and it got them across the gap, and then they just kind of took their jump the rest of the way. They weren't Spider-Manning across.
So maybe it's a charged ability.
Well, it is. There is evidence to say what it is, but we'll just.
It's not a city that is collapsed. It is a city that has lived through the collapse.
Neptune now has to deal with the cloak being pulled back and them being revealed to the world and are now central of the conflict.
Callus has taken his capital ship and just like planted it right down in part of the city, and it's Cabal-occupied territory. It's a city under siege. You've got this infiltrator vibe at times where you feel like a tactical team going into a skyscraper. You're dealing with Cabal roadblocks and patrols all throughout the city. The Shadow Legion, they provide that like characteristic Cabal brute strength. They're all about like volatility and power, and they've been enhanced now by pyramid technology. They have these suppression devices that can take away some.
So, Cabal's suppression device here is being shot at by the Titan on the left. This device is known as the energy it's giving off is known as resonance, and we first saw it in Witch Queen.
What? Thought it was
Sorry, in Witch Queen, to do with all the pyramid tech and stuff like that, and then Rolk had it and stuff like that. So this season we actually have a legendary ornament companion for an exotic, the Sin of Nezarec. And normally these companions, it's like the Vest of Orpheus gives a void effect, the Cloak of Bacchus gives a stasis effect, the Cuirass of whatever gives an arc effect, but the Nezarec robes give a resonance effect. And so I haven't actually seen them, but this should be the effect of resonance. This like orange glow, kind of not the same, or more of a yellow than the solar orange that we see. Think like stasis and arc.
Some of your super, take away some of your abilities. And then they fight alongside these terrifying new pyramid units called Tormentors.
And so, just like I said before, the Tormentors have a similar color scheme structure here to the Cabal. It's different, but this is just like we see on the pyramid.
Yeah.
As part of his.
And as Rhino said, they do have this like kind of central eye, but I just don't see the psionic connection.
His discipleship to the Witness, Callus has been upgraded. And so the Tormentors that they've brought in are these impossibly huge, unstoppable behemoths. They wield scythes. They can attack from a distance. They can bring you in close. They can drain your very life force from you. They are basically embodiments of terror.
It's like a boss character within the battlefield. Your stomach drops. You're like, okay, I'm playing through, I'm having fun, I'm popping heads, doing this thing, and then boom, there it is.
Ouch.
So this back here in the background, clearly on a pyramid, this is a raid mechanic of Vow of Disciple, and I recognized what the armor was. It was, they teased it on, I don't want to go back looking for it, but they teased one of the Tormentor pre-alpha artworks. It was a Tormentor looking over a Guardian wearing Witch Queen armor, as opposed to the Lightfall armor. So it's like, were Tormentors supposed to be in Vow of Disciple?
That's funny.
We've got all the new stuff going into the game. Strand, Tormentors, Shadow Legion, a cool new environment. These are all a great setting for a new Legendary campaign, and we're still making sure that we go through and we tweak and tune and we balance the encounters to have that right challenging level of difficulty for players.
The Legendary campaign was a huge hit coming out of the Witch Queen. It was the first time we had done that sort of elected difficulty where you could really test your skill and test your power. And so we're going to bring that back for Lightfall.
Of course, you're still going to have that higher reward tier, and we still want to make sure that you get that inside track towards being raid ready.
Everyone back at the studio is so hard at work on Lightfall, putting in the details and making this whole release come alive and continue to surprise and delight players. I am so excited to get this out.
Lightfall is unlike anything players have seen before in Destiny. and it's another step that sends you hurtling to the conclusion of the Light and Dark saga.
So we just saw them. I believe it was a hunter. They latched their grappling hook onto a pillar, and so when you have the grappling hook, it is more of a grappling hook because it kind of pulls you towards it. But it looks like you have some control, so you can kind of like be pulled towards, but also a little away.
Yeah.
So you get this like sweeping swing.
Yeah.
And they were able to like loop around the pillar, and then they go into a slam, and right now I paused it on the slam seems to have kind of Spider-Man webbed these fucking Cabal into the air, like psychically, you know?
Yeah. It like suspends them in the space and time and just kind of like,
Yeah.
you know,
So not in this footage that we have here today, but in other footage, possibly screenshots from the press kit, there was evidence that the grappling hook is a new grenade ability, much like Solar has a healing grenade. So all classes will have this grenade ability, and you can have the grappling hook at the cost of your grenade. And hunters specifically appear to either have an exotic not chest piece, an exotic armor piece, or an aspect that allows them to have 2 of these grenades, because on a hunter they had 2 charges, and that would make sense
Just like,
because
yeah.
it was originally supposed to be theirs.
That makes sense. And then they just branched it out. I'm going to be so good with this grappling hook.
But at the cost of a grenade, is it worth it?
I mean,
I guess we'll see.
It could be.
Yeah.
I use grappling in Halo, and if you look where you're going to go, where you want to go, it'll do this like boomerang sweep effect and let you just launch you out.
Yeah.
So like
I mean,
if
that's
you
what
can
it
tether
is.
to
It's
certain, yeah.
Wherever you want it to go, it'll stick you there and bring you there. And there's actually a really cool scene that we're about to see.
Come on. Amazing.
I'm super excited to dive into Strand and talk about all the new stuff that we just saw.
Strand, like Stasis, is a...
Yeah. So just like the Shadow Dive, does Solar have a dive?
Solar has a dive?
Solar and Arc, they don't have a dive, but Stasis and Void do, right?
Yeah, I think so. You mean a ground pound?
Yeah. So Strand has one as well that kind of just like... The best example I have is like Psychic Spider-Man's these fucking enemies up in the air.
It's almost like they're hung like puppets or marionettes. You know?
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
suspended Pinocchios.
Power from the darkness. Unlike our light abilities, which are all about creation, darkness is more about consciousness.
Strand is psychic energy that forms this extra dimension, or this sort of matrix that connects everything together, connects all living beings and all minds. And you, the Guardian, are sort of gaining the knowledge and gaining the power to peer into this alternate psychic universe and begin to pull at these threads and tug at these wires that are connecting all these living beings.
When Guardians learn how to use Strand, it's almost like this third eye opens up. It's about peeling back the curtain of reality, taking those connections and then weaving them into new objects.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool to see them come together. Like, it's always been there, and now that we can tap into it, we can use it for our benefit, whether it's through movement or through damage.
Strand has a grappling hook. Since you're seeing into this cosmic web, you are able to grapple at any point because the cosmic web...
That you can grapple onto the fucking train and the train will pull you. That's so awesome. And this is it. This is it. So you can actually see, I paused it at the perfect time. A hunter here used it and their grenade ability was taken and they have a second charge.
I see it.
So for anyone watching, I'm just going to hit back and we're going to watch that actually happen again.
You are able to grapple at any point because the cosmic web
grenade,
exists everywhere. Yeah. Even if there's not an object there, it will hook on to that web and pull you forward. It's just taking that idea to the next level, putting that that Destiny spin on it.
Yep. The grappling hook initially started as
And see, it actually has in this test environment that I'm assuming is a test environment because it's so like basic. You can actually see it was used and immediately recharged.
part of the hunter's kit, right? They're all about fluid movement, rapidly traversing space, and being very agile. But as we were developing, it's like, oh man, this feels like it's too much fun to just keep it to one class, right? So we made the call to expand this super cool new ability across all 3 classes. On the design side, we wanted to come up with how each of the classes interpreted this additional psychic dimension, like in their own way, right? So the Warlock, they're the telekinetic master of Strand. So they're going to be able to telepathically reach into the Strand dimension, pull matter out, and weave it into this big barrage of these Strand missiles. Wherever they land, these missiles are actually going to unravel, sort of reweave themselves into a new form.
With the Titan, you're able
Real
to...
quick, the new exotic does the little missiles.
Oh, the Quicksilver Storm does little missiles.
Yeah, just thought that was a neat little towards tie-in.
Nice, yeah.
Reweave themselves into a new form.
With the Titan, you're able to weave these claws and do an area of damage around you, spinning and slashing.
Tasmanian Devil.
The super I think I'm most excited for is the Hunter Rope Dart super. The Hunter does a flip and weaves these strands into this rope dart and is swinging it as they're kind of moving around.
That was, so real quick, that was one of the things that people are always like, what could we possibly do next as far as like our ability stuff, you know, as far as like weapons, because they've gone through the gamut of weapons, you know, swords, guns, grenade launchers, you know, rocket launchers, all of these different like hammers. We even have a freaking axe, stuff like that. And so
yeah,
it's neat because this particular weapon, what did he call it? The rope
dart.
Rope dart, yeah. It's an actual weapon.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. And I mean, you look at the concept arts made by the community for poison subclasses. It was always this weapon.
Yeah.
Always, this is what hunters had.
Yeah.
The first time I saw that, even in its kind of like rough state, it just blew my mind.
It does look pretty cool.
We've learned a lot from creating our other subclasses, and we've taken those learnings about combat, about movement, about build crafting. We've put that all into Strand, and I'm so excited to see where players take it once it's out there in the wild.
And so I saw a lot of comparisons to Strand Warlock being just Nova Bomb, but I think what this right here really redefines it. Because it's so wide and so different in how it moves and how it operates. It wasn't Nova Bomb at all.
Destiny is a game that gets even better when you play with your friends. We want to create communities.
So, I think we are at a point where,
I mean, that's the crux of it, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
the cool stuff, but that goes into like the play style. Not really.
I gave myself
that are welcoming and.
I gave myself the. I'm still recovering from being sick, so I didn't get all the show notes, but that was the point that I got to, of like what we absolutely need to watch, and we're not like at our time, but we're coming close to our time. So I don't want to get into something else that could just go further and be. I'm pretty sure what that was going to go into was the LFG, and that's not really important for what we're here to talk about.
Right.
So I just figured it was a good place to jump out for now, and then we can review the rest, and then maybe we'll do a part 2. Otherwise, we'll just talk about some of the very cool Season of the Plunder things that are happening, like the artifacts that we're collecting. But so we'll save that. We'll definitely save that for another episode. What did you think about this showcase?
I mean, it's definitely reinvigorated the hype around Destiny. I think this whole game is all about, the hype of the
Yeah,
next thing coming.
it really
And
is.
yeah, so Witch Queen paid off in like really big ways in story engagement, player engagement, just routine ability to keep playing, stuff like that, really set a bar. And so I'm hoping now that they've got a whole new area and a whole new people and a whole new, you know, subclass to go with that. I hope that they fall. I hope they follow that path that Witch Queen did, because when we got Stasis, that was a big event too. But when
Yeah.
we got Stasis, it was almost like it slotted right into the fold that is Destiny, that had been Destiny all along. Here we go, new explorable place. Just go with your bounties, get this thing done, do the thing, and repeat. When Witch Queen came out, it was very much no. Hey, you got all these cool things you can do. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping it becomes like an amalgamation of the two, which would be Beyond Light and Witch Queen. The best of both worlds just combined in one big expansion.
Yeah, no, I really agree. Witch Queen really like redefined what an expansion could be. And I'm really looking forward to Lightfall. And I'm really hoping, my biggest hope is that it seems like they're gonna do it is with Lightfall. They're gonna do away with the power level grind. Because there's no need for it.
Please.
It's so
Just need it
weird.
to be done.
If it because we're kind of sitting in the middle. We don't exist in a game where power level actually matters or doesn't matter. It's like it's you either have a game where it's like you get so strong that the things that you fought at the beginning now die just by looking at them,
Exactly.
or the game just determines it for you. And it's
Right.
like you get so strong that there are things that kind of stop you, but not because of like skill. I don't know. It's just weird. It's
No,
like,
no, no, no. You're. I think you're tapping in on the very specific thing that I've been crying about all this time. It's not just me. It's just a lot of people. A lot of people like me in the past, but
yeah,
the very thing that separates the community is you have an elite player base who have attained all of this power and ability to one shot all of these people. So if you're a new player jumping in, you either have to align with these people that are veterans, and they already got their little sub communities that they've built up. So you're either jumping in on there, but what if you're a highly skilled player and you want to play Destiny,
yeah,
but you haven't spent a million hours playing it, so you don't have all of this stuff, right? You don't have all of these things that make elite players elite. This gives an opportunity. If they do that, this would give them an opportunity to allow everybody to just jump in, play as easy or hard as they want to, instead
yeah,
of, oh, I want to play as hard as I can so that can make the game super easy. And now it's boring. Or I want to play as, I don't ever want to play. And so every time I come to the game, I just get frustrated because everything's too hard. It's like,
yeah.
have this world, this game be something that you can elect to make it difficult instead of the other way around. In order
Yeah.
to make it easy, I've got to grind.
And I think there are like inherent activities that deserve like it's just because you have like patrol spaces, and it's like, so the patrol space that I went to for the first time ever at like power level 0, there were enemies that I couldn't even touch, and
Exclamation
it felt
points.
good. It felt good
Yeah.
to like ascend to a point where it's like, oh, and now I can attack you. Now I can hurt you. But then you turn around and you're like, and those enemies who are on level with me, it's time for, oh, you can still hurt me. And it's like, well, then what was it? It's,
Yeah, so now it's like
you know,
you've nerfed it to where the elite player base is still challenged. Because
yeah,
it's constantly that battle, that what they always it's flow state
yeah.
in a nutshell. So flow state, it's even in the lore.
And
But flow state is when the challenge and the skill are in that perfect nexus point to where you're wanting to stay playing.
Yeah.
If the challenge is too high, if the skill level is too low, yada yada yada, you
And
get frustrated.
and I think they've kind of got it with that, where like, the legendary campaign was super fun, having a little extra challenge on it, and I really like that. But where it really becomes a sticking point for me is because, like, last night in the raid, uh or yesterday I was raiding, and a new strategy was developed, and it was like, all right, so instead of using Wardcliff Coil on the daughters, Iranok and Haluk, we're gonna have one person run Divinity, one person run Gallarhorn, and everyone else on Legendary Rockets, because it just annihilates them. It like absolutely does.
Wow. Okay.
But so how?
No, I said wow.
Oh, okay. I would explain how if you were asking how. It absolutely annihilates them. But now I'm in this predicament where I'm like, all right, I need to infuse something. So I need to have the material, which I constantly run out of. But I did have the material, the upgrade modules. I need to have the material to upgrade, and I also need to have something I'm willing to get rid of. So it incentivizes me hoarding, and it incentivizes me like needing to have so many things. It's like I have a legendary rocket that I
Yeah,
like,
I
but
gotcha.
I haven't used it since Beyond Light, because
Yeah.
legendary rockets were never really that necessary.
Right.
So it just kind of, I was like, I don't
Yeah,
have anything. It
a
just
whole nother
sucked.
problem.
Yeah, that's where the real sticking point for me is. It's like it feels it feels weird to have to ascend in power, but then also be told you're not actually ascended in power, because those basic dregs can still kill you just as effective, maybe not just as effectively, but they still can't. They still are lethal. But I do like that. I do like that they're still lethal. But and then be told, "Oh, but your weapon wasn't there, man. So now you're back to grounds. Now they're actually stronger than you." It ignores all of the accomplishes I've made, and that's what it is. I think for me, with the new, because they have a guardian rank system coming up where it's like, do the campaign, I'm imagining, do the campaign on legendary, do this lost sector, do this raid. And if it was like, these are the accomplishments, and it's like, these are your power levels, and it's like, okay, well, you did the campaign, that puts you up to here, and you did it on legendary, that gives you a boost. Or you did the campaign over and over and over and over,
Right.
and that gives you a boost. Or you did strikes over and over, and they give you a little boost, little boost, little boost, little boost. Put on whatever the hell you want. I'd be much happier with that.
Yeah, there
Instead
you
of,
go. That's the exact problem that I see too. And the thing that bothers me the most, and I'm sorry to be so critical, I'm just an analytical, critical person. But one of the things that is frustrating for players is that's not transparent.
yeah, and it
Like
isn't.
where in the world did they ever explicitly tell you, in order to do these things you do this, and this is what's happening behind the curtain? They don't make that known until you're just playing, and then you're like, oh, I see what's going on. Now I'm starting to get, like, I get a +1 because I did the thing, or I get a +1 because I increased my power and I did the campaign, or oh my god, I had to do this difficult challenge in order to unlock that 1+1 or whatever. And so that curtain, that thing has always been behind there, and it's not been something that's just explicit. And so when you're playing running around in circles and you didn't do it in the right order, and you didn't maximize your time efficiency, you get really frustrated because you're like, well, now I got to go back and do those 3 things again just to get that one thing I didn't get,
Yeah.
to be on par with everyone else, to be a viable player, to be somebody worth taking into a raid. Or
Like, I'd rather just have XP levels. If that's
Yeah.
the easiest answer, just give me XP levels, and every season, like, up it by 5 or 10, and every expansion up it by 50 or 100. And there you go. And all your
I like
weapons and armor are just weapons and armor. All you care about are their stats. If it's a garbage roll, get rid of it. It is not. Don't put it in your vault. Don't save your blues like I used to do. My vault
Yeah.
is full because it's full of garbage.
Yeah, mine too. Mine was. I deleted everything.
I need
got
to.
rid of it. I got sick and tired of having to constantly make sure I had room for things, and so I was
Yeah.
just like, forget it. I'll just annihilate everything and start.
I've gotten to the point where
Because
I'm making room for the things that
yeah,
I'm making room for more infusion material, and
yeah,
it's
and that's what the collections tab is ultimately for. If I like really, really, really want that dumb weapon, I can go just reprint it out of the collections tab and then just reinfuse it if it's reinfusable, but re-up it and do that kind of thing. Some things though are just completely locked out, and you
yeah.
can't even reprint them, so that really sucks. But I like what you're saying. I like the idea of being able to go on patrol and it just be like just as hard for the vet as it is for the new guy. And
Yeah.
if you want to make it
And
harder, you can
and
elect
you know,
that
make it a choice for it to be harder too. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm
yeah,
saying. Like
yeah,
elect to
like
be harder.
uh,
I like that kind of build because I'm a Halo nerd,
yeah.
and in Halo, if you want to make it difficult, you can. You just make it harder by adding
And it's like the
skulls.
system's already there, you know, like
Yeah,
Nightfalls have it. The system's already there where it's like chance at exotic, extremely rare, chance of exotic,
yeah,
rare, chance of exotic, uncommon, chance of exotic, common.
yeah,
Exotics can drop from anywhere. You can kill a dreg 1,000 times and get an exotic. But what
yeah.
if the dreg was much tougher and it becomes uncommon to get an exotic instead of extremely rare? And it's just like, yeah, but those dregs are going to kick your ass. You have to be really good and know what you're doing, and they
Boom.
have shields now. Like whatever they want to do, it's
Yeah, like you could put on a modifier to make patrol spaces much more difficulty,
yeah,
but your chance of drops is much higher, or your chance of worthwhile drops is much higher. Whatever I'm trying to say,
yeah,
like make the difficulty something you can carry with you just by toggling a node or whatever it is. Like if you toggle grounded or if you toggle blah blah blah, it's just like skulls in Halo. If I want to make it to where I have no radar, I can make it no radar, and the game is instantly harder.
yeah.
Anyway, anyway.
Well, I think that's going to be it for our show this week. Do you have any closing statements?
No, just I mean, we could recap, just what's going on with the strain and the cloud striders and
Oh yeah, whatever
just
you have to say.
yeah. So I mean, just to like reemphasize where we're headed and the little nuggets that Destiny loves to drop on us. This season's all about pirates and stuff like that. So the plunder, we can dive into that on another episode because we got plenty of weeks to
Yeah,
explore that, and new lore is happening weekly too with that. But looking forward to the future, just on this reveal and what they were talking about psychic energy and how we're attaining a power ability that no one has used before, or stuff like that. To go with the overarching theme that is of Destiny, one of the things that I wanted to point out, and I know I've brought it up before because it's like one of those things that I repetitively talk about, is the idea of fate. Destiny's Destiny has told us that from the very beginning, Guardians create or make their own fate, right? Um,
yeah,
but one of the things that they never told us is, could we control it? So you can make your own fate, but can you control it? Like that's always been the question. And so, yes, we make our own fate. We the decisions we make today dictate the fate that is tomorrow.
yeah,
Whether or not we can control that line, that thread, that weaving of fate is up to us. And what we do now dictates what happens to us later. And that happens inside the game, that happens outside the game with the community. Very much a lot of the things that happen inside the game or the changes that are made by the players. So we are all integral to the creation of Destiny as a whole. But where does this fate come from? And why is it ever present in Destiny? And I think that's what we're finding out now. You brought up Urhalak and Uranuk weaving and stitching, and then Crota cutting with this big old
hmm
sword. The fates are the Morai, and I say this all the time. The fates are the three goddesses that dictate
yeah,
what happens within reality. anything that has to do with the thread of life, there is these three entities that are ever present and involved. And the Guardians have three entities that are always present and involved. You have Titan, Hunter, Warlock. You have in the Vex, they stitch and weave and throw needles through time. In the Hive, they do very much the same thing. So our enemies all have this capacity and this ability within them to manipulate the paracausal, using paracausal abilities in a way to stitch, weave, and cut the thread that is the fabric of time, space, and creation. And so that's the fate that we're playing with. It's your destiny. Destiny is a pseudonym for fate. And I just like to see that. I just like to see that, and I like to see that the strand is really tapping into that psychic energy that we've kind of learned to tap into now, or we will learn to tap into. And so Destiny has been planting these seeds ever since its inception. That one day we will be able to manipulate the very fabric of reality.
Yeah. It's interesting that it's a dark power.
I know. But there you go again. I mean, like I say it all the time, Ulan Tan was woke. You know, he knew without light, without dark, together, constantly in this struggle, there is no power. There is no.
I mean, it sounds stupid because it's like killing the Traveler doesn't eliminate all light, does it? Like light still exists without the Traveler. At least in my opinion, it would.
Right. Well, you know, and just like the game, the flower game, you know, that we learned about our we're not in charge. You know, we're merely players on the board. But you know, the darkness and the light are the two entities that are, you know, in the game now, and you know, it's like the chase is on.
Yeah.
So if darkness wins, then there's nothing, right?
Yeah.
If the light wins, then it's, you know, peace. And I mean, it's not peace, but it's constant.
You know what happens when the light wins. It's not good.
No, I know. It's not. It's just existence perpetuated.
Yeah. Yeah, forever.
Yeah. Well, okay.
If the light, I mean, assuming that the 9 told us the absolute truth, if the light had its way, everyone would exist for eternity as cancer-ridden beings that just want to die.
I know. Well, so and this is the argument point. Like the writers are obviously wrestling with some very high-minded concepts, but the idea that creation and evolution and growth all happen through suffering and pain and constant torment, whatever. Those beautiful things that happen are only beautiful when you weigh them against the horror. So yeah, it's a very bleak, disgusting idea that the light could somehow be the what do you call it? The usher in of all of that suffering.
Yeah.
But existence is, you know, existence is the fundamental force of creation. You know, it's the survival, the will to exist is in the matter of our universe, and that is a proponent that causes atoms to bind together, that causes, you know, neutrons and protons to orbit and create cells and create the universe that's swirling and blowing up around us. So all of these things are very much in the fabric of reality until entropy. Until the heat death of the universe happens.
Yeah. Would never happen if the light had its way.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Well, that will be our show for this week. then, and our next show will be on September 18th. And it really needs to be, because after that one, the one after that's going to be the 16th is the soonest I can do.
Okay.
Which that
Well,
is a leap. So I'm sorry about that one.
So then the next show will be on the 16th.
Yeah, so if we don't do the 18th, we need to do the 25th, because then it's going to be a bit of a leap for me.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's gonna go to the 16th on as my first available Sunday, because those next, the 2nd and the 9th of October, I'm gonna be very busy. And also, it shouldn't be the 20th. I can't do the 25th either. It needs to be the 18th. We can't miss it.
Okay, so then the 18th.
Okay,
we're gonna be there.
As
be there or be square.
Yeah, well, our next show will be the 18th. We're probably gonna be talking about Season of the Plunder. Maybe we'll have more showcase. Maybe they tease some things in Season of the Plunder's showcase video.
Hope so.
That has not come up yet. I've been hearing a lot of interesting theories about where the season is going, so I'm hoping next week we get some more concrete evidence and we can talk about that. So
well, there's some cool things coming up too in Festival of the Lost.
Yeah, and Festival of the Lost is going to be, well, that's going to be after the 18th, right? Because it's not starting.
Right. No. I'm just saying, like, so like we could very much be seeing Season of the Plunder kind of giving us a little bit of glimpses in that too. So.
Do you think we're going to get a new lore book for Festival, or are we just going to be like, if you didn't finish it last year, you can finish it this year?
I hope not. I hope we get a new one. I mean, we have some new armor to look forward to, so that's cool.
Well, I mean, we always
remember
have
the
armor.
Yeah, but this is going to be the theme that we all voted on.
Which one is it?
It's the we didn't get Robotron again. We got the other
it's
one.
the Gundam.
Yeah.
I wasn't. Hunters got screwed on this one.
No, Hunters got good either way. That's
Fortnite
why I didn't care.
One is the same thing.
Oh, the Fortnite one. That's true. Damn it! I didn't even realize that until just now.
Yeah, we got one season.
Crap.
We have this one season where Hunters basically get two varying styled Gundams. And I mean, I would be more into the Gundam if it was symmetric. I'm tired of the asymmetric Hunter armor. I get it. Bungie's like, Hunters have asymmetric armor. And it's like, yeah, but sometimes they can't. Okay? Sometimes they shouldn't. Every fucking time.
I like
the solar arms from last season, they have that one side that has like the flames coming out. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then I turn it around and I'm like, oh, well, never mind.
It'd be cool if you could choose.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we did it.
That's our show. Bye, everybody.
Bye.